Hello there, welcome to my YouTube channel. How are you doing? I hope you're good. I'm Margaret. Well, last time we talked about food chain, which has to do with man's relationship with his environment, how the animals feed on each other, how they die to maintain a balance in the ecosystem. We also talked about the increase in number of the animals, how they increase in number to form a multiple food chain, thereby leading to a food web. And that brings us to the topic today, food web. So what is food web? Food web is an interconnection of multiple food chains in an ecosystem. So by interconnection, we mean man's relationship with his environment, inside his environment. It does not have to do with the outside. Everything happens inside the environment. Then by multiple food chains, we talk about the animals that increase in size, that increase in number. So that's one type of animal is being eaten by different types of animals and no longer by one type of animal. Then we have the ecosystem. This talks about the environment, which involves both the living things and the non-living things. So by the living things, you can find the man, the animals, and the plants. While by non-living things, we mean the sun or the soil. So that brings us to this diagram. This is a typical food web. Here you can see that the animals are arranged in different trophic levels. So here we have the trophic level 1, which involves the plants. Here we have the trophic level 2. Okay, the plants are known as the primary producers. Then here we have the trophic level 2, which are the herbivorous animals or the primary consumers. Then here we have the trophic level 3, which are the secondary consumers. They are also known as the carnivorous animals. Then we have the trophic level 4. These are also the carnivorous animals. They are also called the tertiary consumers. So let's start with the primary producers. Here you can see that the herbivorous animals feed directly on the plants, which are the primary producers. And in the herbivorous animals, we have the rats, the nuthatch, the frog, the butterfly, the squirrel, and the deer. So these herbivorous animals are also being eaten by the secondary consumers. Here you can see that the rat is being eaten by the ringtail, the whiptail, the eagle, the jackrabbit, and the pine marten. Then we have the nuthatch, which is being eaten by only the whiptail. Then we have the frog. The frog is being eaten by the ringtail, the whiptail, the eagle, the jackrabbit, and the pine marten. Then we have the butterfly, which is being eaten by the whiptail, the eagle, the jackrabbit. Then we have the squirrel. The squirrel is being eaten by the ringtail, the whiptail, the jackrabbit, and the pine marten. Then we have the deer. In certain cases, you can find out that some animals in lower trophic levels are being eaten by another animal in a higher trophic level. Just like we have here in the deer. The deer is in the trophic level 2, but is being eaten by animals in the trophic level 4, which are the wolf and the mountain lion. So that takes us to the trophic level 3. Here you can see that the animal, the ringtail, is being eaten by the wolf and the mountain lion, and also by the cat. Here the whiptail is being eaten by the wolf, the mountain lion, and the cat. Here we also have the jackrabbit, which is also being eaten by the wolf, the mountain lion, and the cat. Then we have the pine marten. The pine marten is being eaten by the mountain lion and the cat. Then we have the tertiary consumers. So when all these animals die, when they all die, the decomposers feed on them and then convert them to nutrients in the soil, which helps in the growth of plants, and the cycle continues. So now let's take a look at this picture. In this picture, you can see the soil, which where the decomposers are found. So these decomposers, they add nutrients to the soil, thereby leading to the growth of the plants. So when the plants grow, the herbivorous animals feed directly on them, And then the carnivorous animals, that's the secondary consumers, they then feed on the herbivorous animals. And then the tertiary consumers, these are the animals that feed on other carnivorous animals. Tertiary consumers are the carnivorous animals that feed on other carnivorous animals, while the carnivorous animals in the secondary consumers feed on the herbivorous animals. So the animals that feed on the herbivorous animals, and then the herbivorous animals feed on the primary producers. So that is how the circle goes. Now let's take a look at this picture. This is a typical ecosystem. You can see the relationship of every animal in the ecosystem. You can see the plants, you can see the animals, you can see the decomposers, you can see the sun. So this involves the living things and the non-living things. Now, the difference between a food chain and a food web. One might ask, how do I differentiate a food chain from a food web? So a food chain, say that they usually involve a linear connection. Linear connection will mean there is a single flow of food from one animal to the other. But in a food web, it involves a network of chains. Thus, we have multiple animals in the food web. Thus, one type of animal can be eaten by different types of animals. That's the food web. Then here, it involves few animals, just like we explained. Then in the food web, it involves multiple animals. Then in the food chain, one or two animals gets to consume one type of animal. In the food web, many animals consume one type of animal, just like we have all explained. And this can be presented in this diagram. You can also, we have talked about in this diagram. You can see that in the food chain, there is a single flow of energy from one animal to the other. In most cases, it might just be one type of animal being eaten by two animals. But in a food web, you can find out that one type of animal might be eaten by 3, 4, 5 or different types of animal. So it usually involves a network of chains between from one animal to the other, and that is a food web. So this all we have talked about. This is a typical food web. You can see the plants being eaten by the mouse and the goats. You can see the mouse being eaten by the snake, the owl, and the rabbit. You can see the snake being eaten by the kite. You can see the mouse being eaten by the wild cat. So that's how the flow of energy goes from one animal to the other, showing the flow of food, how one animal is the other animal. And that brings us to the end of this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a lovely day. Goodbye.